wanted to open up into gate 55 or gene key 55 and the significance of what many mystics and ancient wisdom teachings and prophecies around what Rudd calls the Great Change, this collective transformation, this involutionary and external evolutionary process that humanity has always been in a process of, right? We're always evolving. There is nothing permanent. And that's true for us as individuals and true as a collective. And in my design, I don't have any individual channels. I have 2 tribal channels and 1 collective channel. And my collective channel is unconscious. It's the 63-4. And it is, I believe it's called the channel of doubt. Let me double check that. Channel of logic. But the 4 is doubt. And so I have this collective channel and it's unconscious and it is in a defined head and a defined ajna, which I meet with a lot of people and I look at a lot of people's charts. And one thing I've noticed is I rarely come across individuals with both the ajna and the crown or the head center defined. I kind of go back and forth. One of the things about me and human design and gene keys is terms, language is evolving. I evolve my language as I study, and I don't just study human design, gene keys. I study a bunch of different teachings depending on what is coming to me in the energetic resonance in that moment. But one of the really interesting things about a defined head center and a defined ajna is that they're pretty rare that people have both because it requires one of 3 channels and there's only 3 chances or 3 channels. So the planets have to be in alignment in that specific channel on that specific day when you are either born or the 88 days before. And so this logic channel is unconscious to me. And the impact of an unconscious channel of energy for me has been that I didn't realize that I was logical and pattern recognition and had this ability to pattern recognize. It's a very, I would say, a very scientific channel. And it's all very mental. If you think about a mental projector, right? Like I'm a emotional projector, which means I have a defined solar plexus. A mental projector has a defined crown and ajna, but mostly not a lot of other centers. And so the indicator of I know a mental projector, and he was a finance guy. And I have a client who is not a projector, but he does have a defined head and a defined ajna. And he was also a finance guy, except I think he has the middle channel. I can't remember what that channel is called, but he has the middle channel. And he was a mental or a finance guy. He was a finance guy and he was dyslexic. And he talks about how he used his ability to pattern recognize and understand numbers and trends to be successful. So I have this extremely, extremely strong logic block that those of us with defined crowns and defined ajnas have. So that's interesting to me. Why? Because when I think about the 55, I'm not a mental projector. I have access to that awareness center. It's unconscious to me, but I have consistent access to it. But I have a defined solar plexus. And gene key 55, gate 55, the great change, the mutation, the aspect of the things that the esoteric systems, the mystics have been talking about is this great change. And in human design in particular, we know it talks about 2027, the year 2027. And what does that mean for the year 2027? And what does that look like? And what has been coming up for me is that this emotional center is starting to come online. It's starting to really will become a new part of the energetic frequency exchange here in the collective. And so if you, like me, have been feeling a bunch of energy, emotion, in particular, high and low emotions, particularly on the shadow frequencies of anger or sadness. Because, as you know, if you follow the gene keys, for every shadow, there's a repressive way that that manifests, and there's a reactive way that that manifests, that comes forward, that low vibrational frequency. When we can't transmute it in our own body, when we don't have the capability or awareness or the wherewithal to sit with the discomfort, we project it. And we typically project it out. As projectors, we know about projecting, right? Like if you're a projector, you know, we project it either as anger, or we sit with it inside as sadness. And I've understood myself on both sides of this spectrum of the shadow state. And what 2027 says, and what the energy of 2027 and this great change and this shift, and you could look at astrologists and you could probably research all the different things of these inflection points. 2012 was also a big one. If you remember, like that back in, I wasn't really into into this type of teaching or learning back in the day, but in 2012, that was a big a big shift, like the Mayan calendar shifting, and people talked about 2012 being this shifting year. And so as we prepare for 2027, what is coming up for me is that this emotional energy is going to intensify because we are changing a background frequency. So just like your individual body graph, your individual human person, your body and your mind and everything you learn in human design, thinking about the mechanics of the body graph. Just like you have an individual body graph, the earth, Gaia, has a collective body graph, a collective body graph. And with my collective channel, it's unconscious, I can pick up on patterns, and I can pick up on the patterns that are moving and how they're moving. And because I do a lot of somatic work, a lot of breath work, a lot of getting in touch with my body, my physical, the vehicle, I can pick up those sensations in my physical body. And I have a defined solar plexus. So that is consistent emotional awareness energy all the time, pretty much. And a couple of channels there. My channels are tribal. Those are the other two channels. They're tribal. They come from the emotional center. My work is to work with emotions within the tribe, work with emotional energy, transmutation of emotional energy. By doing that first within my individual self, which I have no channels for my individual self. So I forget that that's a thing I should probably pay attention to and probably spend some time with, right? And so 55 is the only gene key that has two channels of or two states of being that are the same word. So the gene keys are 64 keys, and for each key, there's a shadow, a gift, and a city. And I think about this as like a range of frequency. And you need all the ranges. I need to know what it feels like to be deep, deep in the shadow so that when I'm not in it, I know what I have a mile marker, I have a place marker on what it's like to be in the etheric acidic state. And one is not right or wrong, better, good. They are there for information as you work with the energy. And so 55 is shifting and coming online as the new background frequency after a 400 and something year period. And those who are like human design purists will know what the ins and outs of that are. But every 400 and something years in the human design system, depending on where planets are, we move into a new code, I'd say a new code, which makes sense. This is why AI is emerging on the scene right now in such a quick and vapid, what seems vapid. Now, it's been around for a long time. My background is in tech. And I remember sitting at a conference, probably 2017, 2016, 2017, and the guy was talking about AI, and I was like, what is he talking about? And they called him a futurist. They called him a futurist. I don't remember what his name was, but he was a futurist and he was speaking. And yep, here we are. So things are moving quickly in the collective. And I would guess things are moving very quickly in the individual. And so you are the only one that can determine what that is happening for you, what your experience is, and how you work within the experience you're having. And 55 is the only shadow state that has both the same name called victimization for the shadow, and then freedom for the gift and freedom for the city. So it almost sets this up in a 2/3, 1/3. It's almost as if there is a condensing in 55, because every other of these 64 gates and channels and connections all just have one term for the shadow, the gift, and the city, for these three states of vibration. But 55, which happened yesterday, maybe not even 24 hours ago yet, 55, which we just entered, has victim as the shadow and freedom as the gift and city. So the frequency is more intense when you enter into the free frequency, the freedom frequency. And the shadow state of being a victim is ultimately suffering. And in today's daily pulse, every time there's a transit, Richard Rudd, the founder of the Gene Keys, creates a little audio, has a little audio. I don't even think I think maybe he created it once, and they open them for free for 6 days. I'll share the link. And as I was listening to that this morning while I was getting ready, I was hearing him talk about the need and desire for external validation, looking for something outside of myself to validate. And here's what he says: what am I looking to validate? What do I really want? What do I really want validation around? It's that I exist. That's what he says. He says all validation, all seeking of external validation is to validate that, like, I have meaning, I'm here, I exist. It's basically how he kind of frames that. And it is the basis of all suffering. That when we are not secure in our own existence, in our own self, in the embodiment of who we really are, we go into suffering. We go into clinging and attaching and trying. We go into trying instead of being. We go from being to trying. And so I wanted to open up a space that could allow for an exploration of human design, gene keys, astrology, Kabbalah, numerology. I've studied so many different things, ancient wisdom teachings, the Sumerian texts, sacred geometry. There's a lot of different ways to bridge your understanding. But ultimately, the message that I'm giving myself, because remember what I said, I don't remember I'm an individual. I don't remember that, like, oh, I have this individual thing. I have this separateness thing. I don't ever feel the separate from the other. And I'm a projector. So add another layer of complexity around that. And so my message today is that we get to decide. You get to decide. I get to decide where I'm going to focus and begin to notice when I am suffering, where might there be a part of myself that I am allowing to be a victim of my circumstances, a victim of something in the external, a victim around anything that would put power outside of your control and into the hand of the other, right? And so as we enter this great transition, this shift, I can't remember what in human design they call it. We're moving from the cross of the something to the cross of the sleeping phoenix. So as we enter, that's what that new background frequency is called, the cross of the sleeping phoenix. So if you want to research like what's going to be happening, what's the energy moving in the collective, that's what that is. And I think it's a great opportunity. I haven't seen this in 400 and something years. I can sense and feel an excitement and an enthusiasm around that, and a real open door, and trusting that doors are opening. I asked my husband something this morning that I had some inside information to. And as a projector, we're here to wait to be recognized, wait to be seen for our value, wait for invitations. You know, if you're a projector, you've heard that. And many times that is very I don't know, it's steeped in a shadow frequency, like, oh, how bad that is. It's so terrible you have to wait. And I think, but what if it wasn't? What if waiting means, let me just double check. I just saw a text. Okay, good. I'm good. I saw a text come in from a client. I was like, did I miss a meeting? Am I in a flow state? Did I miss a meeting? No. What if waiting is a mechanism for you to be really clear when you are in these different states and where the energy is at? And what if waiting gives you real easy access to clarity and understanding? And I was on a call with two other projectors that I trust, who've known me and like had close up view to me over the last couple of years. And what was interesting about it is the one woman said to me, this is the first time I've seen you like not spinning something up. You're always spinning something up. Let me try this. I'm going to put this thing. I'm going to try this. Let me put this thing. I'm going to make this thing happen. I'm going to invite people and I'm going to have it all. I'm going to put it out there online. No. And so I was talking to my husband this morning about something I have this insider information on. And I was like, should I or should I wait? And he said, wait and watch which door opens. The right door will open. You'll know which door. But if I try to open that door and I'm looking at the handle and I'm trying to peek in and I'm trying to like, should I put my foot in there? Should I get in that door? I'm not looking at all the other potential doors. So I hope that there was something in here that you might be able to take away for yourself, that may give you something to contemplate, something to experiment with, something to research, something to try. And I invite you to explore for yourself, to begin to take back your power, the power that you've always had, that you've been giving away to in the wrong places, spaces, people, for whatever reasons. The reasons don't really matter, and there's no one to blame. You don't need to regret it or blame it. But like, really, this is a really, really important inflection point, and there's a lot of opportunity right now. So trust that it's here. It's all here. It's all here. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I appreciate it. Bye-bye now.